Okay, this is going to be part 4 of this flintknapping series that I'm doing. Started out with us going out and finding a chunk of stone, heat treating it, going through the knapping process. We came up with a usable spear point, and the next final stage here now is we got to mount this on something and make it actually usable. So I decided that I want to mount this onto a foreshaft, which would then go onto a bigger spear. And so I've gathered a bunch of sticks that I think one of them will be used for the foreshaft. I think this is probably too big, but I'm going to clean it up anyway. So the first thing that I need to do is find a stick, and it needs to have probably about a 10-inch section that's relatively straight. And I'm going to take the bark off, and once the bark is off, then I'm going to set it aside and let it dry. And once the wood is good and dry, then we'll look at it and we'll find one that is of the appropriate size, diameter and length. And once we get that selected, then we can take the nice dry stick and notch it and mount the point on it. And I decided what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to use some of these blades that I've got. These are off of some flint that I had worked sometime in the past, and I thought they were really nice, so I just laid them aside, saved them. But they weren't good for like taking bark off. They're relatively sharp yet. I've used them some. They're sharp enough so that when I hold it, I'm going to use a glove, and we can take this and use it, and we'll just peel this bark off. And this is nice and green yet here, so it comes off good. If you let it dry completely with the bark on, sometimes the bark is almost impossible then to get off. Okay, today we're going to try to haft these 2 points that I've got. This is the point that we've been following in the previous videos. I've made another point out of the same stone, and it's a lot of monkey business doing this hafting, so I like to do more than one if I can at the same time. So I've got the notches cut in the shafts. I've got them marked. You can see the dots there, and I've got dots underneath here, so I know which way I want the point to be in. And so that's pretty much all ready to go. Now we got to get the pitch glue, and I want to show you. I've got a bucket here, ice cream bucket. This is pitch that I've harvested over the years, and I just keep a bucket of it around. So that's what it looks like when you pick it off the trees or stumps or whatever you get it from. So set that aside. What we're actually going to be using is pitch that's been melted, cleaned up, and it's had finely ground carbon added to it, and it looks like this. And what I do, I've got it in this old bowl for heating. It's cold now, and it's very, very hard. But what I do is I use an old crock pot. Works real good. I put this inside the crock pot. Turn the crock pot on. It takes a while, but it will get that pitch in there all molten, and then once it's molten, we can start applying it to the things we want to glue together. And the other thing that I use when I'm doing this to keep things hot or to heat them after the glue is on, get it to flow, is this heat lamp. So I've got it. I can adjust it up and down, put the points underneath here, and it gets hot enough so that it will melt the pitch and get it to flow nicely. So I'm going to turn on the crock pot, probably let it sit for an hour and warm up, and then we'll see what we can do here. Okay, I had the cooker on for almost an hour. It's pretty molten down in there underneath the kind of a crust that's on top of it. And I'm gonna reach down in there and see if I can get some of the nice molten stuff. I've warmed the foreshaft up a little bit, and we're gonna take and put this pitch in there. Try not to get it all over everything. But I do want it to cover everything. That's probably enough of that. Whew. Stone is hot. Time for a glove. I'll put just a little bit on there. I have to heat that some more. No. We'll see. So that should then, I warm it up a little bit more under that light, and then we'll try just pushing that back on there, and we want to make sure that it's seated all the way at the back of the notch. And scrape off some of this excess that we've got here. Made up a whole bunch of little sticks just for that purpose. But that's it's pretty good. I make sure that I got it centered properly. I want to make it sure it's lined up with the foreshaft, and I think it is. So I can clean it up a little bit after we let it harden. Maybe just let that smooth out a little bit there. I'll let this sit for a day probably or two, and then I'll come back and I'm going to lace it up with sinew. So that'll be another step that we have to do. But I think for right now that's probably good enough. We're just going to declare victory and let it cool and see what we've got. Okay, today we're going to try to lace up these spear points on the foreshafts, and we're going to use sinew to do it. And I've got a lot of sinew here. This is all sinew. This, I believe, is all from the front and back legs of white-tailed deer. It's all short pieces, and for this I want to use a long piece so I can wrap it better. So I'll set that aside, and I've got longer pieces of sinew. This is backstrap sinew, and various lengths. So that's the type that I'm going to use, and the specific ones that I'm going to use are off of those two. And the reason I chose that is because I think I can get the longest strands off of these two pieces. And I want the long strands because I want to do all the wrapping with a single piece. And I'm going to glue them too with hide glue. So I've got ground hide glue here. This is what I'm going to use. I've cooked it up myself, hide glue, but it's a lot of monkey business and just need a little bit for these Spearpoint, so I'm going to use this dehydrated ground glue. And I've got it measured out according to their directions, the ratios. So I've got cool water. This is the glue. So you're supposed to pour this into the glue and let it soak. And then I'm going to heat it up in this fondue pot. I found out that that works pretty good. I can set this into water in the fondue pot and crank this thing up and get it up to temperature. And then I've got the thermometer here so we can get it up to the temperature that it's supposed to be at. And they say 140 to 150 degrees Fahrenheit. So we'll put that in there, let it soak for a while first, stir it up, put it in here, and it's probably going to take quite a while to get that heated up. So I'm going to shut the camera off, come back when this is hot, and then we'll pull off some pieces of the sinew, soak it in the glue, and start wrapping. Okay, the glue is up to 140 degrees now, a little over 140. So what I'm going to do is take the thermometer out and get it out of the way so I can get at the glue that's down in the pot here. You can see or not, but there it is. Take that out. And I got a bucket of water here I'm going to put it in because make it easier to clean afterwards. So that's what it looks like now. It's in a water bath. So the glue is supposed to look like or be the consistency kind of maple syrup. Kind of looks like maple syrup. So I'm going to soak this in there a little bit and get it softened up. And then see what kind of mess I can make. It's hot. 140 degrees on your fingers is pretty hot. I don't want too much on there, so I'm going to try to squeegee a little bit of it off. As I take it out. Wow. And then lay that right on there. And start wrapping. Get a hold of this other end. I'm going to go around, full circle, down, around, up, around again, down, and then wrap here. After this, I'm going to let this dry good, and I'm going to wrap it down some more, and I'm going to put some more hide glue on it, but I'll let that set up a little bit first. So that's what it looks like. Natural sinew, hide glue, fastening that on. Okay, we're going to try to stain this foreshaft today. I've got some stain that I've cooked up. This is husks from walnuts. I cooked it down. It was dried. They were dried. I cooked it. It's been sitting around soaking for a while, so I'm just going to start painting it on and see what happens. It'll probably take several coats, I would guess. I'm just going to use a little brush here. See how much it soaks in. Don't want it to run all over. I got tape down in the bottom end to try and keep it off that. That would be the part that would fit into the lance or the bigger spear shaft, and that don't need to be stained. And we're just going to do the top here right below the lacing, and I don't think that the sinew probably will absorb this, because it's got hide glue, a lot of hide glue. Okay, I think that's pretty well covered. I think we'll just lay this down, let it dry, and then come back and look at it later and see what it looks like. Maybe give it another coat. I don't know if it needs one or not. We'll have to see. Okay, it's been about 24 hours since we put the dye on this foreshaft, and I think it's about the darkness that I want, so we'll take the tape off here and see how it looks. Okay, so we didn't get much bleed through on that. Came out to be pretty even. This undyed part will go into the spear, the big spear shaft, but I think it turned out pretty good. Okay, I've got one last thing I want to do here before I call this finished, and I was thinking about what would happen if I was actually using this spear and I broke the foreshaft off here where it fits into the larger spear shaft, and how I would get it out of there, especially if I was in the midst of using it in real life situation. So the solution that I came up with, I carved a small slot on the base of the foreshaft, and then I have some sinew, piece of sinew here that I've formed that fits into that slot, and if I hold that like this, I can then insert this into the larger spear and just let those ends hang out. That's going to hurt anything, and that way if this should happen to break here, this would be gone, but I can still get a hold of these pieces of sinew and pull that broken piece out of there, reload it, and the spear then would be ready to use again. So with that, I'm gonna call that good, and now we should be ready to go hunting.